Welcome to my channel, Dripping in Alchemy. My name is Starr. Today I'm going to enter into the space with a Indian temple incense. And what I was hearing as I was setting up was that we are going to go full throttle with this reading, and that is not a phrase that I would use personally. So I am pretty intrigued. And I picked up I can never remember what it's called. The deck by Kyle Gray, which I accumulate to be in a shamanic deck, but I know it's not called that. Angels and Ancestors, I think it might be called. And when I picked up this deck, I realized that I'd flipped over 4 cards already, and I kept that separate. So I'm literally just going to read these 4 cards because I'm hearing this is going to be quite significant for some in the collective. And this is not going to be for everyone that is already watching. So please use your discernment wisely because I think we're going to get quite deep today, everyone. And it was 1616 as I was setting up, and I felt like that was significant also. The first card that I've got is the Moon. To take note of intuitive messages. Protection Guardian, drop your shield. Elder, move beyond ancestral patterns. And the final card, Knight, be brave and honest. Okay, and I put in the 2 feathers here, black tourmaline and also the black feather that I found. I can't even remember when, a long time now. I have a whole set of them. So what I'm getting is that so many are going through a massive activation series right now with the protection and guardian here. It's like you've been shielded from energies that would perhaps halt your progress. And for some, you know, this has been happening for the entirety of your life. If you felt like you didn't really live life like everyone else, if you felt like you were quite shielded, or there was only a certain group of people that you were always around and you kind of wasn't ever popular. I'm hearing like the popular loner. People wouldn't consider you to be a loner because you were always there, but you didn't ever speak to anyone. And I'm hearing that some people are starting to remember that about you. They're remembering that you were always there, but you never spoke. And they're not seeing this as a negative. If anything, it's kind of, it's corroborating who you present yourself to be now. And I think this is going towards some that might be fearful of stepping forward in a new vibration and a new identity. I wanted to say new energy, but also identity. It feels like, you know, you're now ready to step forward and be exactly as you are. And I'm hearing that you've been really worried about how others would perceive you in this new vibration. But I'm hearing they're going to understand it more than you can perceive. And I'm hearing that others have actually paved the way for you to just stand in your authenticity. And this is something that I feel, you know, when I started to step forward and I was making new friends in these communities, I very much felt like the elders of the previous cycles, you know, have paved the way for me to be who I was today. And I'm hearing this is what's happened for you. But I'm hearing this might be in quite close proximity to you or in your close circles. Seek guidance from those that you know are on the same wavelength as you. And I think this is where some have been halted because you went to go and seek advice from those that couldn't quite understand you. So I'm hearing that for a little while you've been following, I don't want to say wrong advice, because I think every bit of advice that we are given can be taken for our best benefit, even if it's to say, oh, okay, I'm really not resonating with that. At least you know then that is something that you're not resonating with. And as I come to sit down for this reading, it feels like just below my third eye is like very, very, very scattered. So I feel like some of you have been really like flicking through your Akashic records and thinking, okay, like what am I taking from this space and this time, and what am I bringing in the here and now? And I'm hearing by the next full moon, which I believe is on the 30th or the 31st of this month, is going to be an incredibly potent time. It is a super moon, and it's time for you to truly see who you are. And for some, you've been waiting the longest time for this to come to full fruition. And this is not because you haven't been your full self, but it's almost as if life is going to start to mirror back to you exactly who you are. And I think some have been waiting for this for a long time. And I laugh about this because that has definitely been my own personal journey as well. So it's coming in at this time is what I want to share. And with the idea of this eye and the hand here, all of your chakras are going through such a deep and penetrative expression right now. You are really expanding in your own self, which is why you were shielded and why you've been shielded the entirety of your life. If you feel like you're someone that hasn't had many suitors, or you felt like you didn't have experiences the same way that everyone else had experiences, it was because you were being shielded from the negativity around you. This is because you wasn't supposed to go through the same lessons as everyone else. So you might have felt like you've lived quite a sheltered life to some degree, but that was because you were being saved. You didn't have to learn those lessons in that way. So, you know, your soul chose to not do that, but that meant that then you had to be restricted in some ways, or what felt like restriction this lifetime for you. So this is just to deeper understand where you've been and the precipice that you are now stepping on. And with the elders and move beyond ancestral patterns, this is where you have been, and this is the thing that you have now noted, is that what you were doing and understanding where you have been in your life, you were helping your ancestors break those non-transformative chains, I heard, and you know, the karmic patterns and loops that they couldn't break through. And it is a really heavy and potent and, you know, poignant point to be in, to understand, okay, I wasn't here just for me, but also for my elders. And there is a weight that comes with that, and I'm hearing right now you're sifting through the weight of what has been to be able to step forward in a lighter vibration, so that you can just receive everything that you desire and you deserve. And I believe that we are all inherently worthy from the minute that we, you know, enter out of the womb. It is a miracle that we are all here and alive. And I'm hearing for some, you know, you really struggle to be here at certain points in your lifetime, and your elders and your ancestors are really stepping forward to hold you at this time. Because for some, it might be quite difficult to maneuver through the next bits of life that you are wanting to. If you're wanting to expand, but your ancestors have never expanded in the ways that you have, it can be quite grating on the soul to keep pushing forward, which is why it's very, very important to have balance in this life. For some, this is what you are understanding and starting to step forward and into, is understanding the true balance for you and how that looks for you, and understanding that you can create the patterns and the life cycles that you want for you now. So for some, you know, please pause here and go back to the drawing board, because things might not look how you first perceived them, or perhaps what you first wanted them to be. I'm hearing for some, things have shifted quite monumentally now, so you've gone back to the drawing board again, but your ancestors are helping you with this. So please do spend some time in meditation, spend some time focusing in on your own energy. And I really feel like I'm talking through my nose. And before I did this reading, that was not the state that I was in. So this is for a nose a nose talker. I don't know how to make that make more sense, but it's like I'm feeling so heady right now. And as we're getting deeper into this reading, it's like I'm feeling quite disassociated and quite just head up in the clouds. And for some of you, this is the understanding of your ancestors stepping forward, because you're just receiving all of that energy. So please take some time to pause. For some of you, you still don't enjoy not doing, and this is something that you're really going to have to get used to doing, because I'm hearing that your life pattern and your life cycle is going to be, you know, you're full steam ahead for a certain amount of time, and then you break off. You're full steam ahead, and then you break off. You're full steam ahead, and then you break off. And for some, you felt like that this wasn't how it was supposed to be, because, you know, we're taught a slow and steady path, and that is true, but that is not inherently how you work, and this is not going to be for everyone. So trust in what you are being guided to in your own personal expression. This is obviously just a general reading for who is stepping forward, but that is going to be a lot of people. So trust in your own flow. But for some, you know, you give a lot to a specific project, and then you break. A specific project, and then you break, and that's okay. Get to know your own cycles and your own rhythms. And for some, you're just starting to understand yourself in this way, and to learn to live beyond your perceived lacks, and the spaces where you felt like you were holding yourself back. And I'm hearing that you didn't do this because of fear. You did this because you didn't want to outshine anyone else. And I'm hearing, you know, that is not necessarily a true statement. So please do unpack that with self, because everyone shines in their own way. And it's the projection of others on the lack of shine on them that I think that you've been feeling. So trust in that you are supposed to be exactly where you're supposed to be, and everyone else is supposed to be exactly where they are right now, and the learning within that. So don't take on the projection of others, because everyone has their own cycles, their own times, their own waves. And for some, you know, trust in the cycles that you and others have gone through, and allow for them to grow naturally. And I keep hearing this notion of teamwork and collaboration, and I felt like I was going to put this out over on Instagram, and this idea of that if you're working together in a teams with those that are stepping forward with something that is so of the soul, it is very, very easy to get triggered and to feel like there is a space where collaboration can't be accessed, because everyone is quite raw in their expression of stepping forward and what they are bringing forward, because it comes from the soul and we're not used to doing that. So how to work best with others is to just praise one another, and it allows for you both to see, you know, the mirrored versions of self, but also the perhaps aspects that we feel like we are lacking. And then that's the point in which, you know, that soul then has to do their own work for themselves. And, you know, this might be something that you bring to the table if you feel like it is causing friction somewhere, but there has to be a space of, you know, this allows for you to know what souls you can and can't work with, because we all get triggered. This is a part of life. And I think this is something that I found very difficult to sit and deal with, because at certain points I felt like if I'm being triggered by something, that meant that I wasn't a good person. And if others were triggered by me, you know, I would internalize that and feel like that was something that I had done also. So I'm just sharing that to help you understand and perhaps unpack that notion, because to be triggered doesn't mean, you know, it's not a positive or a negative. It just is. And it allows for you to see perhaps the spaces that you want to grow in. But the way to collaborate with others is to celebrate one another, celebrate each other, and then you will both see, you know, the spaces in which there might be a perceived lack or something that that other person has that you want an attribute at, and then you can help each other work through those things together. But I'm hearing that this will be naturally, like I want to do this with my hands, it's like it's just going to make sense. And I think where things have failed in the past is that, you know, one couldn't accept their own triggers, or someone couldn't accept the fact that they were feeling triggered, and that caused friction. So just be aware of that with working with others. But I'm hearing that you're going to meet souls that are going to understand this pattern, these cycles, and they're going to just do their own work and be honest and be open and bring things to the table that they might be triggered by, in order to, you know, allow for the energy to be free flowing. And I think this is where some haven't ever been with others before. You haven't ever got past the trigger point. So it felt unsafe to be collaborating with others. But I think some are now stepping into and having to step into this energy of working with others. And this is definitely a space that I've personally been in over the past couple of years, is, you know, allowing other people to be in my orbit and in my energy, and to work with them and to feel enjoyment in that space, you know, and feeling the triggers as we all do, but just knowing that that is just growth and that's okay. And I think for some, I think this is going to really help strengthen relationships in your life, is just understanding that everyone gets triggered and that's okay, and to not penalize others for being triggered. And I know that that is a testy expression, and it's something that has to be worked through at one's own pace. And I think that you need to do some self-management right now, in understanding that you know, we aren't supposed to live in solitude. And believe me, I was really upset by this when I realized that the only way for me to move forward was in collaboration with others. It was not what I wanted to be doing at that time when I received that message. That was the last thing that I wanted. I wanted to just go and live alone in the bush somewhere, have my own little fairy tree house, and, you know, just make my space from there. And I was very much told that that was not how my life was going to be led. And it broke me, it hurt me. I thought, I don't want to be back out with humans again. They're not very nice. You know, and I haven't been a nice human at certain times either, and I find that frustrating. I find the human experience frustrating, because, you know, and as many of you understand here, we see from the higher perspective, yet we still have to step forward and have that lived experience. And it can be frustrating at times, because it's almost like you can see yourself moving in autopilot, and you know that, you know, what you're doing is perhaps not the highest vibration, or what you're not supposed to be doing right now, but you understand that the lesson needs to be learned, so you end up doing it anyway. And I think that there is a lot that can be it's a lot that weighs on the heart, is what I want to share. And I think that some are stepping into that energy of allowing for your heart to heal and to soften, and to allow others back into your life. And I think this is also where your ancestors are stepping forward. And I just creaked on my chair, which is kind of impossible to do because it's a plastic chair, but it sounded like wood. So there might be a creaking of the door for some, which is a confirmation of your ancestors, or you might have felt like the door is just cracked open of you stepping forward into this expression of speaking with your ancestors and getting to know them at a deeper capacity. I'm hearing like the door is slowly opening. You might want to enter into a cave system to speak with your ancestors. I'm hearing the real ancient ones. You might want to do some shamanic journeys as well. But yeah, moving on. So we've got the Knight and be brave and be honest. And I think this is about, everything that I was just speaking about, and just being honest about your own triggers and where you are. And this helps others feel safe too. Because if you tell them, these are the things that trigger me, then they know that, at that time if triggers happen, that it's not necessarily personal to them. So less wounds, I want to hear. And also less feeling like either has done something wrong. It's like, this triggers me from childhood because of this triggers me because it reminds me of this time. It allows for either party to not hold any blame, and to just understand, this is a natural response to what you've had as a lived experience. So you can set yourself free. And I'm being drawn to the roses at the back here. And I'm hearing for some, you figured out this is what was stopping your relationships from moving forward in the past, is that you were both just being very triggered and coming from a very wounded space that you couldn't see eye to eye and move forward. And I'm hearing, there is no blame in that. It just is. And this is really something that I've really been grounding into my own personal expression this week, is just, it just is. And that has to be okay. And it was with regards to, trying to find all of the answers. And for the longest time, I was literally driving myself crazy trying to understand everything. And you just can't know everything. This is not how this life works. But I think there is a pressure that is felt when you know that you are stepping forward into a sphere of receiving information, channeling information for others and passing that on. You don't want to say something that is wrong. But I'm hearing that, there is no such thing as a wrong answer if it came from a space of heart. And just be open to things shifting and changing in your expressions of understanding. And that is okay. That is very much okay. And I feel like this is very much just a pep talk for some. I'm being drawn to the dragon plate that I can see down there. So call upon your sacred dragons as well. This might be just the inner fire of the dragon that you feel within you, or, extended guides and guardians. And I do have a dragon channel as well, which is called Dragon Heart Light, which is in the description if you feel like partaking in that. There are some meditations and journeys to help elevate your consciousness and your vibration. But I'm being told to stop here, everyone. But I was really drawn to this card, which I will put in the community tab if I haven't already. I need to double check that. 17:22 on the clock there. So yeah, just a short reading today. But I'm being drawn to these dried roses as well. 17:28, and I did bring in this dragon pyrite skull as well, and also this beautiful shell that I believe came from Cornwall. And then also this beautiful fairy castle that I got from the emporium that I work at. But I'm going to end just on the bell, and I'm hearing, yeah, right on the time, right on the bell. And I'm being drawn to boxing here, and that was something that was stepping forward again. So there's something in that, something in combat sports for some right now. You're in training, yeah, the combat. You have gone through the initiation process, and now you're stepping into your leadership, ancestral role. So congratulations. This is a massive congratulations for everyone that is here, and please do praise you. And I feel like I've gotten very quiet. So it's in the quiet that you're going to feel the praise from your ancestors, everyone. But look out for this next full moon. Make sure you are doing ritual of some degree. A lot of releasing for some, but an illumination for others. So trust in that cycle and wherever you are. But that's all for today. Take care.